students, in exercise 1 we did up to 7th problem. Okay, so for the 8th problem, here 8th problem is adjoint A is given, we have to find A. Adjoint A is given, we have to find A. For this, see here how to find. Already we know that we have this property, adjoint of adjoint A equal to, already we proved in the theorem, adjoint of adjoint A equal to det A power n minus 2 into A. I am using this property, adjoint of adjoint A equal to det A power n minus 2 into A. So in the 8th problem we have 3 by 3 matrix. Adjoint A is 3 by 3 matrix means automatically A will be also 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so here n is what? 3. So if A is 3 by 3 matrix, then adjoint of adjoint A becomes det A power 3 minus 2 into A. So you will get det A. Adjoint of adjoint A equal to det A into A. Okay, right. Here det A is plus or minus of root mod adjoint A. So A equal to adjoint of adjoint A by plus or minus root of adjoint A. So here det A is equal to under root of plus or minus of root adjoint A. How to get this? See this one. We know that det of adjoint A is det A power n minus 1. Already we proved in the theorem. Det of adjoint A equal det A power n minus. Here n is what? Order of the matrix. So 3 by 3 is the order of the matrix. If you put n equal 3, you will get det A whole square. So det A equal to, by sending 2 at this side, plus or minus root of 1. So det A we can find by using det of adjoint A also. If you have adjoint A, we can find det A by using this formula. So here to find det A, I am using this root of adjoint A. So automatically by sending it right hand side, you will get A equal to adjoint A of adjoint A by plus or minus root of mod adjoint A. Now we can use this formula for 8th problem. Why? Because we have adjoint A, but we have to find A. So which formula you will use? A equal to adjoint of adjoint A by plus or minus root of adjoint A. Okay, already adjoint A is given. Find the det of this and put here in denominator, and numerator is adjoint of adjoint. So adjoint A is given. Now find the adjoint of this matrix. Adjoint of this matrix. Okay, find the cofactors and transpose it. Then you will get the adjoint of adjoint A. So by keeping here in numerator adjoint of adjoint A and det of this matrix, substitute in denominator, so you will get A. Similarly, if adjoint A is given, then how to find A inverse? So already we know adjoint A equal to, if you have adjoint A, then we can det A. We can find det A. How to get? By using this formula, det A equal to plus or minus root of adjoint A. So remember, if you have adjoint A matrix, you can find the det of A also by using this formula. So A inverse, we know the definition of A inverse. A inverse is what? Adjoint A by det A. But we don't have A matrix. We have adjoint A matrix. So we need det A. How to find det A? If you know adjoint A matrix, we can find the det A by using this formula. So in place of det A, I am replacing this. So for the 9th problem, you can use this formula. A inverse equal to adjoint A by actually det A, but det A is equal to adjoint A. Okay, if adjoint A is given, then we can find A. If adjoint A is given, then we can find A inverse also. To find A, this is the formula, adjoint of adjoint A by plus or minus root of adjoint A. To find A inverse, just you keep the adjoint A as it is. Already adjoint A is given, no? So keep the same matrix. Just you have to find the det of this matrix. Then keep in denominator. Automatically you can find A inverse. So A inverse is easy to find. And A, to find A, we have to find adjoint of adjoint A. Then after det of adjoint A, you will get A. Okay, for the 10th problem, find the adjoint of adjoint A. If adjoint A is given, no? So find the cofactors and transpose it. Automatically you can get adjoint of adjoint A. Right? For the 11th problem, it is 2 by 2 matrix, and It contains 2 rows and 2 columns. Find A transpose A inverse of this 2 by 2 matrix, then multiply and show that it is cos 2x minus sin 2x sin 2x cos 2x. Okay, you can do this. Now 12th one. Find the matrix A for which A into 1 matrix is equal to this. So we have to find this unknown matrix capital A. See here how to find capital A. Send this matrix at right hand side. So see here how to find. This is unknown matrix A. I am taking this matrix, I am considering as capital B, and this matrix I am considering as capital C. So B is this matrix and C is this matrix. Okay, so I have to send B at the right hand side. For that we have to post multiply with B inverse. I am post multiplying with B inverse, C into B inverse. So A into B inverse is identity matrix. So C into B inverse. So you will get A equal to C into B inverse. So to get A, multiply this matrix by its inverse. Find the inverse. First you consider this matrix as B and this matrix as C. Okay, here you write where B is the first matrix and C is the second matrix. Then do this. After getting this, you find the inverse of B. Find the inverse of B, then multiply with C. You will get A matrix. Okay. For the 13th problem, we have 3 matrix A, B, C. Find the matrix X such that we have this equation. Here we have to find the matrix X. For that, we have to eliminate A and B. To find X, first I will pre-multiply with A inverse. A inverse into X into B is equal to A inverse into C. Okay. A inverse into C. So here A inverse into A automatical identity matrix. So you will get left hand side X into B equal to A inverse into C. Right. Then after post multiply with B inverse to eliminate B. So by post multiplying with B inverse, B into B inverse becomes identity matrix. So you will get A inverse into C into B inverse. So to get X matrix, multiply the C matrix, pre-multiply the C matrix with A inverse, post multiply with B inverse. So automatically you will get X matrix. Okay, this is the procedure. So before finding this, you do this, then after multiply with A inverse, find the A inverse and B inverse, then post multiply, pre-multiply the C matrix. You will get X matrix. For the 14th problem, we have 3 by 3 matrix. To show A inverse, we need A square and identity matrix. So first of all, find A square, then substitute in this at right hand side, you will get A square, A inverse. Find the A square, sorry. We have A matrix, find A inverse and find A inverse left hand side, and to get right hand side, find A square and simplify this and show that both are equal, LHS equal to RHS. Okay. For the 15th problem, so already I explained cryptography. Okay, here we have coded matrix, row matrices, coded matrix, and we have encryption matrix. So we have to decode the coded message to original message. Okay, for that what we have to do, already it is coded form. So we have one non-zero matrix, so we have to post multiply with this, with inverse of this matrix. So take this first row and post multiply with this inverse of this matrix, then you will get one row matrix. Again take this row matrix, multiply with inverse of this matrix, again you will get the another row matrix. Then after getting the 2 row matrix, convert them, assign the letters to the numbers, automatically you will get the original message. Okay. Before solving this, once again you observe the cryptography method. Okay. Now after this exercise, we have elementary transformations of matrix. Elementary transformations of a matrix. We have elementary transformations of a matrix. So here elementary transformation of matrix means a matrix can be transformed to another form. A matrix can be transformed to another form by using row operations or column operations. So these operations are called elementary row operations, elementary column operations. Okay. Suppose, for example, I am taking 2 by 2 matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose I am using first row, I am interchanging first row and second row. So you will get new matrix. Suppose I am indicating it A1. So what I am doing here, first row, second row, interchange the first row by second row. So interchange, when you are interchanging the first row and second row, use symbol. This is the notation to interchange the two rows. So you will get 3, 4, 1, 2. Now this matrix is transformed to A matrix is transformed to A1 by using row operation. You can use the column operations also. Suppose I am using C1, C2. Then you will, for this matrix, then you will get new matrix A2. Here I am interchanging C1, C2. So first column becomes 2, 4. Second column becomes 1, 3. Right? This is new matrix, and these two matrices are equivalent matrix. Why? Because A2 is obtained from A by some operations which are called elementary column operations. Here also A1, A are equivalent matrices. Why? Because order is same and it is obtained from A by using some row operations. So two matrices are said to be equivalent matrix if second matrix is obtained from first matrix by using some row operations. Okay. So let me explain the equivalent matrix. Equivalent matrix. What are the equivalent matrix? Two matrices A and B. Two matrices A and B of same order. Said to be equivalent. Said to be equivalent to each other. If one matrix is obtained by another matrix. If one matrix is obtained by another matrix by some operations, some elementary operations. Here elementary operations means they may be either row operations or column operations. For example, this one. Here I got A1 matrix by interchanging R1, R2 row. So here A1, A are equivalent matrix. Here order is same, but the rows are interchanged. This A and A2 are also equivalent matrix. Okay, right. Using these operations, we can using these operations we can get the number of equivalent matrices. So different type of matrices we can get, but they are equivalent. Right? Now let me explain one more important topic, that is row echelon form. Okay, I'll explain row echelon form. This is an important topic. Row echelon form. A matrix is said to be row echelon form. Definition: a matrix, a matrix which is non-zero, a non-zero matrix. It should be non-zero, not non-singular, non-zero matrix. A non-zero matrix capital A is said to be in row echelon form. Row echelon form if it satisfies the following condition. What is first condition? All 0 rows of A occur below every non-zero row of A. Right? A matrix is said to be in row echelon form if it satisfies the following condition. What is the first condition? All 0 rows of A occur below every non-zero row of A. That means, for example, suppose I'm taking one matrix, 2 by 2 matrix. Suppose this is 2, 3, first row, and second row 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. Here first row is non-zero row, second row is 0 row. So always if matrix contains in one row all elements are zeros, that row should be below the non-zero row. Here this is non-zero row, this is 0 row. So 0 row lies below the non-zero row, then it is in echelon form. This is first condition for echelon form. Suppose I am taking another matrix A1, 0, 0, 2, 3. Now see here, non-zero row, this is 0 row. 0 row is occurring above the non-zero row. So this is not satisfying the first condition of row echelon form. So to convert this row echelon form, we have to use row operation. Interchange R1, R2. Then you will get first row becomes second row and second row becomes first row. Now see here, 0 row is occurring below the non-zero row. Now this matrix is converted into echelon form. So this matrix satisfying the first condition of the echelon form. What is the first condition? If in the matrix any 0 row is occurs, you have to send it to below the non-zero row. Okay, understand? All 0 rows occurs below the non-zero row. 0 row means all elements should be 0. Non-zero row means at least one element in that row is non-zero element, then it is non-zero row. At least one element should be non-zero element in that row, then that row is called non-zero row. 0 row means every element should be 0 in that row. That row is called 0. So this is the first condition. What is the first condition? All 0 rows of a matrix A occurs below the every non-zero row. Okay, second one. The first non-zero element. The first non-zero element in any row, any ith row. A first non-zero element in any ith row of A occur in the jth column. Then all the elements in that jth column of A below the first non-zero element below the first non-zero element of row I are zeros. Okay, this is second condition. The first non-zero element in any ith row of A. The first non-zero element in any ith row of A occurs in the jth column, then all the elements in the jth column of A below the first non-zero element of row I are zeros. Okay, this is second condition. Let me explain once again. Suppose I am taking 3 by 3 matrix. This is 2, 1, 2, right? 0, 3, 2, 0, 0, 4. Right? See here, every row is non-zero. This is non-zero, non-zero, non-zero. So I am considering this. This is second row and second column. This is the first non-zero element. Okay, the first non-zero element in ith row. So I am considering second row, first non-zero element, and second column occur in the jth column. So jth column is second column, right? Below the first non-zero element of row I. So row I, first non-zero element. Below the elements always should be zero. First, if for example, suppose I am taking first row, first element, which is occurring in first column. So first row, first element occurring in first column. In that column, below the first non-zero element of that row should be zeros. Okay, here, if you consider first row, second row, first element, it is occurring in second column. So below that element always should be zero. Okay. For example, let me take another example, A1. Suppose I am taking 0, 1, 2, 3, right? 0, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. Right? See here, I am taking first row, first non-zero element 1, and it is occurring in second column. So below this element always all elements should be 0, 0, 0. Okay. And if you take this second row, first non-zero element 1, it is occurring in third column, and below element is 0. So this matrix is satisfying first condition. What is first condition? If any zero row occurring, it lies below the non-zero rows. So here we have one zero row, so it is lying below the non-zero rows. So it is satisfying first condition. And what is second condition? If any non-zero row occurs in any row in that column, the below the non-zero element, all elements should be 0. Here 1, 0. So this is the second property. Okay. Third one. What is third one? The first non-zero entry. First non-zero entry. The first non-zero entry in the ith. The first non-zero entry in the ith row. In the ith row of A lies left of the first non-zero entry, in I plus 1th row. Of A. So what is third condition? The first non-zero entry in the ith row. The first non-zero entry. Remember, first non-zero entry in the ith row of A lies left to the first non-zero entry in the I plus 1th row of A. For example, see here. I am taking first row. First non-zero entry is 1. This is ith column. I plus 1th column means second row. This is ith row. I plus 1th row means second row. So compare this. Ith row first non-zero entry. I plus 1th first non-zero entry. Observe this. this is lying left side of the I plus 1th row. I plus 1th row first non-zero entry. See here, the first non-zero entry in the ith row of A lies left to the first non-zero entry in I plus 1th row of A. First row and second row. I am taking row, first row, second row. First row non-zero element. This is first row non-zero element. First non-zero element. And second row non-zero element. So observe this. Ith row first non-zero element lies left side of the I plus 1th row. So first row non-zero element lies left side of second row non-zero element. And second row non-zero element lies left side. If suppose if I put 1 here. If I put 1, see here. Second row non-zero element, first non-zero element lies left side of the third row non-zero element. So a matrix is said to be in echelon form if it satisfies first condition. What is first condition? If any non-zero row exists in the matrix, that should be lies below the matrix always. If it is in first row, you have to use row operations, then interchange the last row and first row, then you send it to below the matrix. Okay, always 0 rows lies below the matrix. And second condition is what? If any non-zero row exists in the row, any non-zero element exists in that row, first non-zero element, that is called leading element. First non-zero element in that row is called leading element of the row. Okay, if leading element is non-zero, leading element exists in the row, then in that column below the elements always should be 0. See here, in second row 3 is 0, 3 is non-zero element, then its below element is 0 in this matrix. First two non-zero element in 1, then the below element is 0. Okay, like that. That is second property. And third property is the first one. Already I said, if any element, a non-zero element exists in ith row, then it should be lies left side of I plus 1th first non-zero entry. If these three conditions satisfied, then the matrix is said to be row echelon form. Okay, student. Okay, tomorrow we will discuss how to transform, how to reduce into echelon form, and how to find the rank of the matrix. Thank you.